We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show, episode 456. I'm your man behind the microphone and your Scholars of Wrestling party champion, Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week is the OG Undisputed Scholar himself and the current reigning Scholars of Wrestling world champion. He is Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how's tonight treating you, sir?
Tonight is treating me well, and I just have to correct you on one thing.
Oh
It
boy, here
is
we
the
go.
the reigning and until Charlie cashes in that beef case, I'm unofficially defending the Scholars of Wrestling Heavyweight Championship, because then my focus is on don't tie with Charlie, don't tie with Charlie. Make sure I beat Charlie, because at that point it's like, I must keep the gold. I must keep Goldie with me. I can't keep it. I can't put it back in the hands of Charlie. No, man doesn't know when to cash in right.
Oh, just watch. Now he's going to watch this episode and he's going to plan out everything for the next show. And then your title will not be safe. Just watch.
Isn't the
But be
next show
that,
WrestleMania, so it doesn't even matter?
yeah, he's going to chug all the coffee in the world and he's going to stay up for 48 hours straight, just waiting for you to slip up. And then shabamzos, he's going to cash in and you're done. And then what are you going to do?
What I'm doing right now is pretty much just plotting for him. It's like, if I had the beef case, what would I do?
That's why we're all glad you don't have the beef case. Lord knows we got enough problems up in here anyway, but be that as it may, there
Hey,
have been a lot
you
of.
won Revolution prediction, so for that,
Indeed,
I'll
I
give you
did.
official
Perfect card.
congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Mm-hmm.
But be that as it may, that has been far from the only development this week in wrestling. And we're going to cover it all. But first, before we get to AEW, we need to talk about the latest developments in the world of WWE, specifically this past week on Monday Night Raw, where, as we suspected, we finally have a concrete locked in challenger for Gunther and his Intercontinental title for WrestleMania 40, and it is Sami Zayn. I got to admit, I was back and forth whether or not it was going to be Sami or my dark horse pick was going to be a return match against Chad Gable. But hey, when it comes to the Scholars of Wrestling, you're the IC Championship guy. What did you make of this match, and did things go the way you thought?
Actually, it didn't, because I was also on the side of more wanting for Chad Gable to win, because just because of how it felt for him, like because of the personal things for him. And it's nothing against Sami, because Sami was also one. I was happy for either guy winning, just to make that clear, because I love both guys so much. But if I had to choose one, I was choosing Chad Gable, just for the point of the man hasn't won a singles title ever in WWE. So actually, I don't even think ever, period. I need to look up and confirm that. But in WWE's case, he's only won tag team gold, and let the man win singles gold, and let him win it for his daughter. As a father who understands, you want to just make your kids proud of you. I completely am for that. But Sami and Gunther is going to be in a fantastic match, a great underdog story for Sami to prevail, but I'm not fully convinced that's going to happen. But I'll save that for when we do WrestleMania predictions in a couple of weeks. But the Gauntlet match was a great match. I'm trying to think what else can be really said about it.
It was just the match everyone wanted to see, myself included. This was undeniably the match of the night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For Raw, the thing is with WWE right now is that it's slowly building its lower card, mid card, lower card matches, but I mean, mid card, lower card match. I mean, last week they officially announced the night one main event for the tag title match, or not tag title, the tag team match between Roman and Rock versus Seth and Cody. And the only other real development that happened on Raw in Raw's case was just showing how much Seth Rollins really kind of sucks when it comes to the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, it's not that Seth sucks per se, but in my mind, it's more that Drew McIntyre has just come screaming out of the gate and has just turned into this absolute charisma beast that, again, it's not that Seth is bad. It's just that right now, Drew is absolutely blowing him away. And I think the crowd as a whole is really looking for a fresher world heavyweight champion at this point. And I think it's unanimous that Drew is going to be the guy.
Oh, absolutely. And what I mean by Drew, Seth sucks is just the whole storyline right now. The whole point of the Drew Seth story, like the main focus of it, I mean, is the fact that Seth Rollins doesn't care about Drew. And I don't know, that's what I mean. Like, he sucks. It just makes him out to look like a complete and utter douchebag for a guy who, granted, had circumstances helping him, but he earned another shot at the world title, and he is like one of the best things going on Raw. And just for Seth to be like, no, I'm going to focus on a different story, the main story, because you're not the main story. And again, it just makes him out to look like a douchebag and makes you kind of want to root for Drew McIntyre even more, because for a guy who's a heel, who's just consistently telling the truth and stuff, yeah, you just are in the line of wanting to see Drew have his WrestleMania moment, but also it's just the normal story that I just say when it comes to Seth Rollins' world title reign. When it comes to Seth Rollins, he's his title reign, he's the least interesting part of the story of his world title feud. I mean, if you look at Finn Balor, he had the potential storyline with Damian Priest cashing in on him. You had Shinsuke Nakamura, who, although to be fair, I don't really remember what their feud really was about, other than just Shinsuke wanted a world title shot. But because Shinsuke is such charisma, you just be like, okay, I know what Shinsuke Nakamura is capable of. I've seen his previous work before WWE. The man deserves some form of world title reign in his run in WWE. And again, that's just, okay, well, I just am more focused on Shinsuke. I don't really care about Seth as a world champion. And then you get Drew's first attempt at the world title. It's Drew McIntyre, a man who's just desperate to want to win the world title. Again, just a much more interesting character. And then you look at Seth's main focus in the Bloodline storyline, and funny enough, he's the least interesting character in this one. Literally every damn seat. The thing came out, and I found myself leaning back. He's the least interesting person in that story. Literally everyone is making fun of him, and Seth's role in this is to stoop to the Rock's level and call him Diarrhea Dwayne, just to possibly show how his catchphrases and nicknames are kind of stupid, even though you're not really really like showing off that's what you're actually doing. You're leaving us to kind of put those pieces in because you're not telling the story that well at your point, and you're making yourself just consistently not interesting. So
I don't think, to be fair to Seth in this particular case, I don't think he's it. I will agree that he is the least interesting portion of this whole feud or program, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think it has anything to do with Seth himself. I think it has everything to do with the fact that he's in the middle of this feud. He's standing next to Cody Roman Reigns and The Rock of all people. He's naturally going to be the fourth. I don't care who you are. With those three other guys, you're going to be the fourth wheel. And with all this distraction that he's got with seemingly not taking Drew McIntyre seriously, I think all the signs are there that it's all going to come out and screw him over in the end. And night one of WrestleMania is absolutely going to go to the bloodline.
I agree. I just think that WrestleMania weekend is not going to be Seth's weekend at all. I think
Not at
basically,
all.
I think he is just going to be the black sheep of the main event scene, and just the main focus is Drew winning that title. Because God damn it, give Drew that title. He's long overdue to have a world championship run in front of people. We've been saying this ever since he had that rematch with Lashley at WrestleMania, what was it, 36?
And you're far from the only person to say that. A lot of people have been saying that both inside this show and out.
He just got a new contract. He has a new deal. Give him something he's long overdue for.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely due, and that is going to lead into a lot of what we're going to see night two of WrestleMania, a lot of unexpected ways. But hey, we're going to get back into that as we get closer to WrestleMania time. I think we're all going to see it for ourselves. But in the
I have a
meantime,
Scars.
yes, fire away.
Before we move on, I guess this is sort of adding to our transition to AEW, just because it's something that Mark Henry said. I don't know. I'm pretty sure seen this, that he wants to do a cross promotion with AEW just so Dustin can be involved with Cody finishing the story at WrestleMania. What's your take on that?
I'll be honest, I heard his comment and I had the same thought myself. However, I've heard the idea brought up that WWE tends to not repay these things, and it would be at this point, I feel like it would be foolish for Tony Khan to trust a WWE that much. On the other hand, you could also make the case that Dustin at this point, he said a year ago that he is leaning towards he's going to retire this year. So it seems very plausible that Tony could think, okay, yeah, he's a free man, he can do what he wants, who really cares, and for the sake of making a moment. But if it meant something to Cody, then I'd say maybe. But no matter how you slice it, you are giving a moment to WWE television. And I can see a lot of people wanting to do that. But at the end of the day, in this particular moment, you are giving a moment to WWE and you're actively aiding your competition. So, to answer your question, as much as there's a portion of me that would love to see that, I really do not think it's a good idea for AEW to loan that out at all. I think, if anything, Cody, barring a number of forces to cancel out the bloodline, whatever capacity they're at on WrestleMania night 2, outside of that, Cody needs to win this one. Once everything's out and it's just him and Roman, Cody needs to win this with Cody's power alone.
I'm not even saying have him get involved, just like have him just be in the crowd.
Even so, like, even if it's not like a direct thing, that is still.
This is also coming from a guy who wants to one day have that WWE AEW crossover show.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen at all, unless they get pulled in ECW or a WCW and they get bought out entirely. I don't think it's going to happen. Not under the current regime.
I'm thinking now it's possible now more than ever, since an egotistical McMahon isn't running the show. but I'm not saying that it's going to be like next year. I could see this happening within a few years, especially now with in AEW's case, they're slowly starting to rise back up in popularity,
And you know
putting on
what?
these magnificent product,
And you
new
know what?
look.
I think that is the exact thing that will make it less likely to happen. Like, yes, we have seen collaborations with other organizations in the past, like your ECWs, like your NWAs, like TNA with Jordan Grace and her presence in the Women's Royal Rumble this past year. But really, the only reason those things happened, I'm convinced, is because those were in lesser standing compared to WWE. They were a distance third at best compared to what WWE is. At that point, during the Attitude Era, when WCW was still in business, you did not see WCW because wrestlers on there when they were still contracted because they were the closest second place. They were the biggest ones that could even compare at all. But you did see ECW. Today, yeah, you're going to see TNA wrestlers because TNA is no significant threat to WWE, but AEW is the closest one that's on the radar right now. So, outside of a couple snide remarks, I really don't think you're going to see AEW, at least as it is right now, in any capacity around a WWE product anytime soon.
Oh, like I said, anytime soon, absolutely not.
I think
But I'm
even
just
your figure of just being like a 3 to 5 year mark, unless AEW seriously drops considerably like early 2000s WCW does, unless there's a huge drop off like that, I don't think there's any time close to seeing anything like that, for better or for worse.
because I honestly could think that AEW still needs a lot of growing to do, and what they have right now is quite possibly one of the best rosters in that company's short history. And now you got people like your Okada, like your Will Osprey, and now just this past week, Mercedes Mone. You're like all the things that people, including us on this show, has said that AEW needs to work on to make themselves better. They're starting to show uh progress. They're getting people who are now potential stars, uh like your Will Osprey. I mean, Jesus Christ, this promo that he did this past week on Dynamite was just absolutely unbelievable. Like, I'm listening to this and I'm just going, this guy's gonna be the top baby face in the company, like, so soon. Because
Yeah, I even then, like I've only ever seen Will Osprey's matches in the past, and they were good enough on their own. But this guy has so much natural charisma to him. That's the first time I ever heard him speak. And between the everything that AEW is doing with the the post the post event press briefings and the in ring promos, like this guy's got is loaded with natural charisma in addition to being an absolute killer athlete. Like
he is a complete
this,
package.
yeah, this he I was a little skeptical at first, I admit, but man, did Will Osprey shut me up. Like he is so
Like
well rounded.
pre-signing.
Yeah, like I knew he could
Yeah,
wrestle up a storm. I just never heard him speak before that. But now, all three of the three major signings that we got from AEW, Will Osprey, Mercedes Mone, and Kazuchika Okada, all three of them are the complete and total package. And they are going to, in terms of star power, they have absolutely made up for the loss of CM Punk right now. And there's so many other people waiting in the wings, waiting to recover from injury, that this is the exact kick in the pants that AEW is needed, in my opinion.
I completely agree. And just with these stars and their new look for Dynamite, which I think you called it 2.0 done right, which in all honesty,
NXT
I kind of
2.0 done right. Yes.
yeah, I actually agree with that. And I'm just looking like I'm actually really digging this look. I like the look of Dynamite because it's up there with the nice up to date look of that Collision had when it first debuted. Uh, Now the Dynamite logo is now up to date, that it's on par with the Collision logo, and now it's a much more like elegant product, like elegant display of what this product is.
The word that's coming to mind right now is polished. Does that fit?
That's what I'm thinking of. It's a nice, good, polished look, completely up to date. It's something Dynamite really needed, because we had the spray colors, all that, but it now needed a fresh polish, and this was absolutely it. I'm glad they brought back the two tunnels, and I am extremely invested of what's going on in AEW Revolution post.
Yeah, for sure. They're really the only thing I can be critical of AEW recently is there is still a hole in terms of talent management and talent consistency. Like you've got someone like Danhausen on the roster technically, but you're not using him in any capacity. Meanwhile, he's very clearly wanting to work, and he's even booked for a match against Matt Cardona in GCW in the coming weeks. So I'm like, okay, this is really the leakiest portion of the ship right now. You need to really make sure everyone is being used constructively. And thankfully, I feel like we're on the mend of that too, with the talent, the creative talents that you're and the bookers that you brought on recently to keep everything consistent. That new I'm trying to look up who this person is. Uh do you know who I'm talking about? They just hired somebody, uh Jennifer Pepperman, vice president of content development. They just brought her on, and I've just recently noticed that some of their content, some of their storylines are becoming way sharper and way more consistent. Like what we saw the past week between the breakup of the Bang Bang Scissor Gang, where we have
Oh,
the
I couldn't
acclaimed
be more
and the
happy about it.
Bullet Club Gold actually acting like themselves and really picking up where they left off now. It
Thank
seems like
God.
even then the leaky ship is starting to clear up, and I just hope they don't totally lose out on talents like Danhausen, like everyone else that they're like, hopefully not Malachi Black if the rumors are to be believed. There's
Hmm.
just too much great talent on there that you can devote even a little bit of time to. It's just a matter of balancing it out, using it, and just using everyone effectively.
It's to the point where, excuse me, um, it's to the point where it may be best to have something similar to what they had, kind of like a not official like brand split, but to have like certain superstar, like when Collision first came on, it was obviously for CM Punk and for a bunch of people who felt like or were fighting to get TV time from Dynamite. It just feels like maybe it'll work better because AEW has so many names now and such extraordinary talent that it's the, as you put it, the art of trying to find TV time for these wrestlers is going to be very, very different. And you have people like Chris Jericho yeah, I'm gonna be one of those people who are on that bandwagon. I think Jericho needs to take a break. I'm kind of done seeing him on TV. He's for the past couple of years, he's kind of been the storyline killer. Every storyline that he's involved in just loses its edge. And there's this other talent that could be getting that TV time, and uh Jericho is just one of those people who are just needing one. He's like, okay, please just go away.
Yeah, I've got to say that I want to say go away is what I want to see, but more just a recalibration. And whatever you want to call it, I definitely feel like that's finally happening in AEW right now. It makes the entire show far more consistent as a whole, especially when you're talking about the pay-per-views that they've been doing that have always been pretty consistent. And if they're going to be delivering more of them in the future, they are it's still looking up for AEW. And
Mm-hmm.
especially with only a couple weeks ago, the fallout from AEW Revolution. This was probably one of their strongest shows in recent memory. Did you
I
happen to
think
catch any of it?
I didn't watch it live, but I did watch like the highlight reels of each match to make sure I once saw everything, all the big spots I could possibly go to talk about it here on the show. I mean, in my personal opinion, I actually think Osprey and Takeshita stole the show for me.
That was absolute. You know what? There's two matches on this card, depending on your criteria, that you could say that they were your match of the night, and I would not disagree with you. In terms of just pure exciting wrestling, Osprey and Takeshita is head and shoulders above anything else we saw. What was ordinarily a really strong card, but Osprey and Takeshita, the absolute masters at their craft, bar none.
And hell froze over. There was an Eddie Kingston match that I actually enjoyed.
See, when you check your expectations at the door, the man can deliver. I think you're especially going to enjoy what you're going to be getting next week on Dynamite when Eddie Kingston is going to be defending the Continental Crown against Okada of all people.
Okay.
Uh, Fire away. Just say whatever you gotta say.
Just think of the past conversations, both on this show and even including when we went to the first Dynamite of the year. My biggest problem with that Continental Championship was just a question: what the hell is it? Is this supposed to be a representation of the three belts that the Continental Crown was made for, to merge them into one belt? Yet you have this match next week, and it's only the Continental title that's on the line, not the Ring of Honor champion, not the Ring of Honor championship and the Strong championship. Isn't the point of this title that they're merged into one title?
At this point, I feel like the answer is a very clear no.
Well, yeah, now even though them like you just what was the point of like having like merging this? I'm on the side of Brian Alvarez. I heard this exact same discussion, and I was like, yeah. It's like, then what the hell was the point of merging these titles together
I
just to
don't
split them apart?
because
Because
I
that was
don't
the whole
think they
thing they
were
were
ever
pushing for.
I don't
That was
think they were ever officially merged. I will say, in hindsight, I don't think that was very clearly communicated by AEW what the original intention was. And regardless of what it was or wasn't, I'm under the impression that one of two things happened. Either this was the plan from the very beginning, where Eddie Kingston was listed as a Triple Crown champion, and it just wasn't as clear as it possibly should have, or it was originally intended to be a unified title for everything that Eddie Kingston was carrying around. And at some point, plans change. Personally, I'm opting for option one. I think this is what the plan was meant to be from the very beginning. This is the way they've been treating it. But I feel like there's places where that was not clearly communicated as it should have been. And given all of the analogs about what the Continental Crown Championship and the tournament that goes along with it is meant to be an analog of, being the G1 Climax in New Japan, I think everything we're looking at and the dominance of Okada and just really needing him to really show off how good he is to a new American audience, I think we're looking at a new champion come next week on Dynamite.
I just I want to be excited for this. Like I want that. I was like, I wanted to go. It's like, oh, I made it clear last week when we saw this on Dynamite on our scholars chat. I am all for Okada and the Elite. I love everything about it. That's actually like my number one thing that I'm focusing on AEW, just because I just Okada is just a natural. People were afraid of Okada being on regular weekly television and putting on mid matches. It was just like, it's Okada. He does not, there's no such word as mid matches for that man. But what he's proving is just, he doesn't have to put on the best match. He just has to put on a great product and great character. And he's absolutely doing that. I love this. My problem now is he's now that the title, like you weren't convinced that the title, like the whole Continental thing is to merge the three belts. It was very clear to me that that's what they were going for, and that's what they were promoting. And now again, they changed their mind on it, and now this is just another belt that is starting from scratch, and we don't even know where the hell this title is ranked on account of, like, okay, so is this now just a title that's starting from scratch, and you have to have Okada try and make it important instead of going for two mid-card belts. Give him the international championship instead of giving it to Roderick Strong. Because I don't think I love Roderick Strong, but I don't think he's going to do anything significant with that belt, because now the Undisputed Kingdom is not really gaining momentum right now. They're kind of going at a slow pace because Adam Cole and MJF are unavailable to actually continue their storyline. So now we have Wardlow, who kind of used up his world title match opportunity, which they could have used for future storyline preferences. And now you're just fighting for a title that really has no real significance.
That I completely disagree with you on all counts, because I think it all revolves around a set line of logic that really does not apply to the same way to AEW titles. There really isn't the same style of hierarchy when it comes to, at least not strictly in the same way that WWE does their titles. It's not just like, okay, this title is down here, there's this other title down here, and then there's like your absolute world title up here. The world title is up here, but then everything else in AEW is just like a hodgepodge of other titles. Given what we're talking about with the Continental Crown title, this is very clearly meant to be some degree of analog to the G1 Climax, which reeks of New Japan in style and purpose, all things considered. And when you're talking about style and substance of New Japan, Okada is by and large the New Japan guy in terms of AEW. So to me, in terms of mid-card titles, in terms of prestige, I see what you mean about the international championship, but I really don't think that's the need or the story that they're going for here. If we're going for the absolute god emperor status of Japanese strong style wrestling that has almost been exclusively New Japan and some Pro Wrestling Noah. But let's be real, there's no Pro Wrestling Noah presence in the United States right now, virtually none. But New Japan, let's be real, how many G1 Climax jokes have we made over the years? Like, it's a known thing in relative terms, it's a known thing for United States fans. And when it comes to New Japan and Japanese strong style wrestling, the only thing that's known more than the G1 Climax, but by far, is Kazuchika Okada. So when you're talking about someone who is like a complete weeb for Japanese strong style wrestling in Eddie Kingston, and meanwhile you've got the absolute ace of New Japan coming to the States in Okada, now you're talking about like, okay, the story you get is, okay, Okada is here and he's a bad guy. He's coming to make money and ruin your day and break your dreams. Number one target right now is the biggest dreamer on the AEW roster, and that is Eddie Kingston. And what are you going to do when you're coming up with the ace of New Japan? Jack Dilly squat. You're going to lose, big guy. I'm going to take that title and I'm going to take it with me. Too bad, so sad, cry about, defend your Ring of Honor championship. Bye-bye. That's the story.
It just doesn't work for me because it just consists like you saying, oh, the world title's the top and the rest of them are just in the mix. That doesn't work for me, because you have to it really has to just put in line what these titles, like what these lower mid-card titles are representing for your mid-cards. I just think now, if we're getting all these titles, the TNT title, the international title, this Continental Classic title, and now turns out that the other titles that were to merge that one means now is now separated. So now you have the two belts, the FTW world, because I don't care what they say, it's still a title that's being defended at AEW. You have 6 lower card titles. So that kind of thing just doesn't work for me, because
so what's your bigger
devalues...
problem? Are you talking about how many titles there are, or how the titles are being used?
It's just at the point, like how it's too many titles, so you can't use them correctly, because it's not really just showing like, oh, well, the international title is something that just can really go anywhere and be defended on anything, any country on any show, is what they would do. The whole idea was when they brought it in. But so isn't that the same thing what the continental thing is now? Just
No,
go anywhere.
no.
But there's no meaning for these titles other than just, you have this one favorite guy, so let's put a belt on him. Let's give him a prop to make. It's like, okay, so this guy, he's someone to focus on, but it's not the champion means anything. It's just like, oh, this guy is the important thing to focus on. It just doesn't feel like it makes the titles mean anything. It makes the guys mean something, because like, okay, well, here's the focus, but the titles don't feel important when there's too many of them.
Okay, well, you just made a very, very distinct point right there. You just said the titles don't feel as important. Is that correct?
And they're not doing anything to me, because
hold on. Follow me here. Follow me here. I want to make sure I'm understanding you right. You said the titles do not feel as important.
They don't.
Okay. So let's follow up on that. And I think this is the point I'm really trying to get to here. First of all, I don't disagree with you. I feel like there's way too many. I agree with you that there's way too many titles, and you really need something more to make
It
these
needs more of
things
a
feel
structure.
distinct. Yes, I agree. However, my argument is, it's in my mind, Yeah, it's absolutely unclear. I don't blame anybody, including you, for not really like getting anything out of that. But I'm just seeing something different. What I am seeing is the international title being the most clear analog to the intercontinental title, where it's meant to be. It originally started with a more distinct flavor. It was meant to be more of the intercontinental title dialogue, the workhorse championship, because it was held by Orange Cassidy for so long. Mid card title, you get it. The Continental Crown, because it originally came out of a G1 Climax style tournament, yeah, the belt is not the direct thing, but because it started there, in my mind, and people like me, it has that association with like a G1 Climax style tournament, which brings you to, okay, this is a very Japanese style title championship in terms of its presentation. So to have that be associated with someone who is so strong, who is so pro Japanese strong style like that, to me, I see the paper trail. To me, it does make sense. But because it is so radically different, to the point of like, we don't see that kind of championship on American shores until today, because we don't see that, because it was so different. And yes, I will agree, I don't think AEW creative as a whole has really gotten a very clean way to really establish what this is and how to do it effectively. I will agree that a lot of meaning and importance has been lost. But the point I'm trying to make here is that I see enough potential where I don't think it's fair to say that they've got no meaning. I'm seeing the seeds of something absolutely wonderful. And at least when in the hands of someone like Okada, I see this being able, this Continental Crown at least, or something like it, being able to take up to the next level. I see the seeds of something excellent, even if we're not quite there yet. Am I making sense?
I could see where you think they're gonna try and go with this,
You don't have
and
to like it. I'm not saying it's perfect at all.
for some like it can possibly be done for someone like Okada to make that, to build prestige in that title. It's like the only real, it just brings out the question on just why not just use the other titles that mean significant, generally the same thing, like it's the same level of significance.
Because the level of significance isn't the story here. The story here is what this particular championship represents. It's about the whole Japanese strong style thing. It's about everything else around it. Again, it's so radically different that it's not about title prestige. It's not just about, okay, putting a title around Okada. It's about Okada showing up to the United States, bullying a weeb who loves Japanese wrestling. And it's like, okay, yeah, you like Japanese wrestling? Well, guess what, bitch? I am Japanese wrestling. Get Rainmakered. I'm go. Oh, you got a belt? I'm going to take that. Yoink. Enjoy Ring of Honor. Goodbye. Kick. That's the kind of story that's going to be told, I think. Not necessarily, oh, hey, oh boy, Okada's here. Let's put a belt on him because we can. Wow, that triggered a bit of a rant.
I just I think you're giving it. I think you're putting in too many pieces of something that's not there.
I
Because I
disagree.
just
I'm just saying this is sincerely what I see. I'm not trying to stretch anything. I sincerely see this. I
they
don't.
then if that's what, it's just it's not working. Because I honestly don't see it.
And you know what? Because of how different this is, I don't blame you, because that's just the way the life is.
Because it's just because it's you're telling me they're bringing in a title. They brought in a title in a Japanese style match. This is like the Japanese style championship. And I never really got that from
because
this. Just
because it was disputably not really executed nearly as well as it should have been.
it's
And
just
I'm not saying that's what the original plan was. I'm saying that that's the kind of impression I'm getting based off of what they've done so far. It's definitely not clean. It's not the best executed. Definitely not at all. I feel like a lot of this whole storyline was not intentional at all, and it really comes across like, oh hey, this is just what came up. This is so okay, here we are, I guess. Like, is this does that make sense? It's like a comedy of errors in my mind, but it's a comedy of errors that I particularly am enjoying at the moment. Does that make any sense at all?
yes and no, because
I'm not saying you need to agree with it.
it's
You
just
probably
it's more
shouldn't,
like
but
yes on the character side of things. I see what you're going at, but it's just in the execution to where it's like, again, I'm calling this just it's a worthless, it's a prop. I feel the Continental Championship is just nothing more than a prop. Uh just thrown in because the Continental Classic shouldn't be for number one contender. Apparently, it's just for some new belt that they brought in.
it's only ever been done once. There is no precedent for this outside of just using the G1 Climax as a model, which they've never actually outright claimed. But even with the G1 Climax, the winner always does get a trophy in this case. So there is something there, but again, I agree in the sense that it's been very unclear, and there's some definite trimming of the fat that needs to happen.
When your title match is just being built around, it's like, I don't like you, so I'm just gonna take some. I'm just taking this away. I'm taking away the belt that was pretty much made for you. Okay. At least we're getting a good match out of it.
Okada is a bully butthead. That's the story.
I love it.
See,
It's like,
I think
sing happy
that's what
birthday.
that's
Oh,
what
well,
they're
happy birthday.
relying that's what they're relying on to carry this. It's not in this particular case, the fact that there's a title is just like, okay, yeah, you love that title, okay. I'm gonna whoop your ass and take it because I'm Okada and I'm best friends with the VP, so that's what I do. That is what's going to lead up to this. And considering we're getting the Okada versus Eddie Kingston on Dynamite of all things, this is not the no pun intended. This is not the climax of the story, and there's going to be a lot more to come.
I think he's gonna win that thing quickly.
I totally agree, and I think, frankly, I think he should, because that's it. The narrative potential and along with the matches to go along with it are just way too fitting. But
And plus, we're getting him versus Pac.
right on, and there's too much good to be had from it, so that's why, despite all, I'm enjoying what I'm getting right now, despite its flaws, not because of them. Does that make sense?
It does. I can't get past. It's just there's too many flaws to where I'm just going. It's like, okay, these are things that didn't need to be here, but they are now, and it's just clearly showing you had no real plan for these. You were just going through the motions with this, and now you're at a point where it's like, so okay, what do we do now?
The best
I
way I've ever heard that put is probably by Bully Ray on Busted Open one time, referring to Tony Khan. Tony Khan is not a booker. He is a matchmaker where he makes exciting matches, and it's almost like booking and storytelling is almost secondary to the exciting matches. And I can't say that he's wrong. I will agree that the recent hires to restructure and sharpen up their storytelling and their booking, that is, we're going to see a gradual improvement over time, but as those effects take place, we're going to see, until all of those positive changes take place, yeah, there's gonna be still gonna be some holes here and there until everything gets patched up. And frankly, I think it will.
When you have that, like, I can look at the positives of what AEW is fixing, and that is just uh them promoting future shows better. I mean, just next week in Toronto, we have a whole series of things that they promoted, and now it's like, oh, okay, okay, it's going to be at this place. So what's going to be on the show? I don't know. So why do I want to go to this? Now we're getting stuff for the next shows, and it's like, oh, we're getting uh Okada versus Eddie Kingston next week for the title. Okay. We're getting I think that they actually promoted a lot for next week. Adam Copeland versus Christian in an I Quit match for the TNT title. Well, that's gonna be fun, isn't it? What else did they promote? They promoted like a few things. It's gonna try to remember.
But yeah,
Oh well, it doesn't matter.
those matches are the kinds of things that really
The point is
commandeer
they're
you.
actually promoting matches and segments, and they're actually giving people reason to want to buy tickets to see these shows. And the attendance has slowly started rising. So things are on the up and up, but goddamn, showing how this show displayed, they still have some work to do. That's just Jesus Christ, so goddamn frustrating.
And you know what? For me personally, given what kind of year it is, given that we're in the middle of WrestleMania season, that is probably you're not going to overtake WrestleMania in any regard. So just for AEW being on the having that upward momentum is really all, in my mind, all you want from AEW. Just have consistency, get the shows sharpening up, getting better, and delivering on what they need to deliver on over time. That is exactly where they need to be. But frankly, I I don't want to go any further on the I don't want to close out anything on this show without addressing Sting's final match. Did you happen to catch any of this?
I did. Great match. I
Yeah,
love that opening pack. That opening video brought tears to my eyes.
it was absolutely super touching, and especially when he had his kids come out looking like past iterations of him. Like that, once everything got started, you could tell what this match was meant to be. It was just,
Oh, at that point, I'm just like, well, I'm not getting. Jeff is getting the perfect card with how much they're pushing this. Yep, it's like, okay, yep, I'm not getting it. Jeff's getting the perfect card. Sting's winning this. It is clear as day. Even though I love the reports saying that Sting was the only one who was against him winning.
which, that's just the kind of guy he
Yeah, just
is.
showing
He's a
what kind of a class
traditionalist.
act he is. And
But you know what? This is the exception that proves the rule. When a legend like Sting is retiring, that is, you know what? Sometimes it's just that obvious, and it worked. It sent the crowd home happy. It was a beautiful moment, and at the end of the night, not only did Darby Allin not die, but Sting's last match, he actually they missed time to queue and they ran out of TV time on pay-per-view.
yes, I saw that clip. Oh my God.
I
I
was
was just
exhausted. I was watching it live and then literally like, okay, I'm getting timed out. And then
stop.
I and then the pay-per-view just stopped.
And then you're just going, it looks like there's more. I want more. I want to hear what he has to say.
To me, it was still just funny. And the match itself, like with everyone being thrown through panes of glass, I'm just like, okay, everyone's not dead. I got my perfect card, me. And yeah, I did. That's about as good of a final match as Sting will ever have. And he should be proud of what he did.
And now
Darby Allin, on
we
the
may
other
never see
hand,
Darby Allin again.
Darby Allin, if that match didn't kill him, I don't think Mount Everest is going to.
No, I don't think so either. But it's
Just watch in 4 weeks from now. This is gonna? I hope that doesn't come back and bite me in the butt.
let's hope.
I hope this doesn't
Stay
get clipped
safe.
and added to poorly aged things on Twitter.
Stay safe, Darby.
I'm sure Darby will be fine. He's crazy, but he's not stupid. But yeah,
I mean, well, he is kind of stupid with just some of the ideas that he can to just completely mess up his body. But he's both crazy and stupid. I gotta. If you're willing to just mess up your back so much and then go on a show a few days later and have Jay White completely destroy you, like at to the point where you're like jumping to do a coffin drop and land on the edge of the ring apron. That's the hardest spot. That's the hardest place in the ring.
that looked like it killed. Like, oh no, Darby, what
Everything
are you doing,
he
buddy?
did on the Jay White match looked like it killed.
That, but
The
that
man is
spot in
trying.
general, it's like, oh,
That's that spot of him getting thrown into the wall. I'm like thinking this guy is gonna like throw himself and land on his head wrong and just paralyze himself. Just this man is trying to he just does not give a shit. He is a rag doll come to life. You can just do just anything you want to him, and he'll just find ways like more weight.
that's the boy. But even so, it's like total class act by everyone else involved. They gave the send off that Sting absolutely deserved, and it just again, it wasn't.
Revolution.
Yeah,
Revolution is a goat face. Simple put, goat face all
easy,
around.
easy goat face. This is not just so many different wrestlers at the best. This is AEW as its whole at its best. Tipping the cap to legends where you need to, showing off and showcasing the 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 signature and young talent that they've got, banger after banger after banger matches, and of course the natural AEW signature, exceedingly long shows. But you know what? It's the kind of thing that leaves you absolutely exhausted at the end, but you love it so you don't care. So yeah, 5 out of 5, goat face all the way. AEW at its best, one of the best shows they've done in a very long time. That alone makes me confident. You know what? Once we get through WrestleMania, you know what? AEW is going to be waiting and they're going to be doing just fine. Ooh.
I really hate that. I really hate that Continental Championship. I really do.
Well, hey, that not you can't win them all, really. But with that, those are our reviews for AEW Revolution, beard ratings and all, and the best and worst of AEW, and how WWE is going. You've heard of what we all think, but now is where we turn it over to you, our fellow fans. What do you think of what AEW is doing right now? How is the Intercontinental Championship for WWE progressing? Should it have been somebody else? What'd you think of Revolution? And the way tonight is going, what do you make of the Continental Crown Championship?
Shouldn't
No
it
matter
just
what,
been a number one contender? Yes. There's no other way to put it. Should it be for a title? No.
hey, no matter what you
I'm
think,
never
we
gonna let
want
that
to
go.
hear from you. Well, the story is still progressing, and so are the opinions. So we want to hear from you all across the internet, YouTube comments, Facebook posts, Instagram, wherever you are, we are too. So drop us a line anywhere, including on the Twitter machines where you can join in the conversation with us. Fool, where can I reach you?
You can reach me, point out that title is only interesting as when the Continental Classic comes back next year, because that's just automatically put in for the champion, at the Avataric.
And you can catch me
only significant
enjoying
thing
all
about
the
it.
things at I'm Robbie Rage. And for all of the relevant social media links and much more, check us out at our link tree at that's linktree/scholars of wrestling in the description box below. And with that, we all breathe and we're going to gear ourselves up for yet another amazing week of wrestling as we go into WrestleMania season. Cool. Any parting words for us?
No. I have no parting words. I think I've made all
Delightful.
my words, all the words I've said on this show, it has been perfectly clear.
And we've ranted our hearts out because that's who we are, and that's what we always will be. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
See you all next week as the road to WrestleMania marches on.